able to get the gifts, so I asked her if she could pull 3 unique gifts from the bookstore, and she did not disappoint. So the first gift we've got is a leather keychain holder. This is a super nice keychain from Rust & Co. Let's go ahead and pull a name. You know what? Let's say this is a man's gift. Let's pull a male's name here. Brother Robert Flint. Brother Flint in? There he is right there. All right. And we'll say this is the ladies' gift. We've got a super nice water insulated mug. No, keep on. Sister Gianna McPherson. Right here, second row. And the highlight of all the gifts, we've got soap on a rope. Now, this isn't just soap on a rope. You know, in true Calvary bookstore fashion, this is some of the best soap on a rope you'll ever have. So this is for anybody. We're not going to. Sister Claudia Elliott, is that right? Oh, Claudia, right there. Sister Claudia Elliott. Will you run that back there to her? All right. And now we've got a real estate panel tonight, and I'm super excited because we've got a very unique group of folks who, from my understanding, we've never had them up here talking about this topic. So we'll have y'all come on up. We've got the Hicks, the Moats, the Kotlers, and Sister Ruby. Y'all come on up. Hey, can we give them all a hand for coming and doing this?
So we've got a unique group here tonight that have all invested in real estate as a part-time side project. And that's something important to note about real estate. Anybody in here tonight can get involved in real estate while you work your full-time job or business. So they have worked real estate as a part-time side project and have found success. Take a moment and tell us about one of your most recent tips. Why don't we start with the Kotlers?
So me and Macy, we was looking to find a house because we was getting married, and we had searched all over. We wanted to get in Sherwood where all of our family was, but that just wasn't the case. We had looked at a couple houses. None of those interested us very much. So we kind of looked outside of our area that we was wanting, and we come across a house that was in Flower. That was pretty far away from our family. You know, are you sure we want to go out and live in a place for a while that we probably won't be hanging out with our family pretty much or very often because they're so far away from us? But the Lord opened up a door for us, and we found this house that had water damage, and it was a foreclosure, so we was able to get it for a much lower price than we was anticipating. It was 1,900 square foot, and we got it for, I think, $27 a square foot, and my grandparents had given me money. I inherited $10,000, and they helped me use that to flip a house, and we figured that might not be enough, so we had to get an extra $10,000 from the bank for a construction loan. And the house, they was originally asking, I believe, was it 90? I think they was asking $90,000, and we got it to $70,000. So after we had got the loan and the extra money, we had about, I think it was around 90-ish thousand into it. And when we got ready to sell it, which we didn't plan on selling it at all. We thought we was going to stay there for 2 years and then find another place to flip or build a house. But the market just shot up, and we was like, why not try to sell this place and see how much we can make off of it? So we talked about it and got with her grandmother, who is in real estate, and we got her advice, and her parents, they've done real estate and sold houses a lot. So we was like, how much do you think we should sell this place for? And they was like, try $149,000. They're like, that's a little too low. So we went against what they said and asked $159,000. And within, I think, 3 days of having it, was it 1 day of having it posted on Zillow, we had I wanted to say we had a couple people that that day or that next day, they wanted to come and look at the house. And the first person that came and looked at it offered us $164,000 for the house. So it was a long process, and eventually it all worked out. We had to fix up some stuff that didn't pass inspection, which was little minor things, but we ended up getting it sold.
So our most recent flip was we sold it in November 2020. We had started looking for a house in September 2019, and we finally found one in February. And we had made offers on several houses, and either someone else beat us or we didn't get to negotiate it to the price that we wanted it. And so we finally found one in February 2020. And then March 2020, the coronavirus hit. And our banker said, are you sure you're wanting to close on this house? And we talked about it and felt peace about it. And so we said, yeah, we're going to do it. So April 2nd, we closed on that flip house, and our kids were homeschooling. So we took them over there, and they worked on the back deck and did their schoolwork. And we remodeled the house. It took us until August because we did a lot of the work ourselves. We offered $85,000, which is $54 a square foot, but we ended up getting it for $95,000, which is $60 a square foot. And Brother Herndon told me to mention just a while ago about the price per square foot, because sometimes people don't understand how to figure that. So you take the listing price, or the price that you're wanting it at, and you divide it by the square feet of the house, and you come up with how much that you're paying per square foot. And so we bought it for $95,000, and we did a lot of the work ourselves because we didn't get it for the price that we exactly wanted it. So we thought we were going to sell it for $159,900. We figured in all the costs to rehab and the amount that we bought it for, and we thought we were going to list it at $159,900, but the market went up. And so we listed it for sale by owner at $169,900, and we got an offer for $165,000, and they wanted us to pay their closing cost. And so that would be really more like, they said up to $5,000. And so we would have gotten it for basically $160,000. Well, on day 10, the people backed out, and then we listed it with the realtor, and she said, let's just mark it up. And so I was like, okay. So she marked it up to $174,000, and then 5 days after the other people backed out, someone came and offered $172,000, and they didn't ask us to pay their closing. So in 5 days' time, it went up $12,000, and so the Lord was with us.
My recent flip house was in Sherwood. my sister had told me about it and told my husband we needed to go look at it. And the house was listed for $85,000, and we was able to get it for $80,500. We actually had a couple hurdles to go through to get our house. It was listed on a bidding website, and the day came for my husband to start bidding on the house, and it completely just disappeared off the website. And so my husband was like, he called everybody he could figure out to try to see about what we needed to do to get the house, and nobody could help him figure it out. And so we just kind of all lost all hope on trying to get the house. One day I was laying in the bed, and my husband and my daughter was taking a nap, and I was looking through realtor.com, and that house popped up, and I immediately woke Ricky up, and I was like, we need to go try to look at this house and see if we can get it. So I immediately called my realtor, and we went and looked at the house, and we was able to get it. And I told Ricky my goal was I wanted to be able to get the house and have it completely finished in 3 months. And by God's help, I was able to get it. We purchased the house on May 13th, and we sold it on September 10th. So I was quite excited about that, and we sold it for $163,000.
So whenever we got into the house flipping and everything, we'd kind of talked about it, and I'm not completely against it, but we truly tried to find somewhere in some way that we wouldn't have to live in the house while we flipped it. And so we were able to find one in Conway, and so it was kind of a unique experience because it had a 2-story apartment on one side of the lot and then a house on the other side of the lot, and the apartment was in really good shape. It actually had tenants. So the Lord worked it out where they were paying most of the mortgage, rent, whatever you want to call it, of the bank note that we had to purchase it. So that was a kind of neat deal. But whenever we bought it, we were able to get it appraised for around, I want to say in the 150s. The bank, they asked $112 for it, so the bank actually was able to give us a little bit of money to even fix it up, and that sort of thing. So we were really excited because I didn't want my little kids and all that running around while I was trying to do this, because this house was in pretty bad shape. I had to do all the way to the floor joist in some areas, and just a lot of in-depth stuff. This house was, all the no-nos they taught me in the class not to get, they ended up going and happening. The AC went out, the roof messed up, but the Lord worked it all out. The insurance covered the roof. The AC was able to be included. So it all turned out for the good, but God blesses the work of your hands. If your hands are busy and you're able to make the effort, He can turn something into something beautiful. So that was our second to last flip, and we'll talk more about that in this class, just because it was more involved in that sort of thing. So.
You know what's so exciting about having all these folks up here is Bishop said over and over again that real estate is the perfect business just for the average person to make good money. You know, how often can you go do a side project and walk away with $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on the side? And by doing this, you can either work in the house that you're living in, fix it up and sell it, or as you have heard, get one on the side and do that as well. So it's what's so neat is this is something really anybody and everybody can do. And what I love is you don't have to be an expert in the industry before you just decide you want to do it. And we've got the perfect class here called Truth College at the Rocks, personal growth class. It teaches you this stuff. And so, Brother Jared and Sister Leanne, tell us, how experienced were you when you even decided this is something you wanted to do? And where did you learn a lot of your information?
So we weren't very experienced at all. And at first, we actually flipped a couple of mobile homes in our early marriage. We bought some repo mobile homes and basically just put new flooring and paint on the walls, lived in it for free because we paid cash for them. and then later sold them and made money on them. And so you can start like that. But really, whenever we started flipping houses was we purchased a house on Tall Chief in 2014. We bought it for $137,000, and it was $54 a square foot. At the time, I didn't understand price per square foot. Actually, I learned a lot of stuff coming to the personal growth classes because some of the people that would come speak would break it down. And you know, some of these things you might not know, and whenever you haven't ever been into it, and so whenever they break it down, you understand it better. And so, thankfully, bought it at a good price. We remodeled it one project at a time as we had money. We were close to being done, and we had a house fire. And a lot of y'all know about that. And so we had to move out for 5 months, and they completely gutted the house down to the studs. And that's really whenever I learned to love real estate, because I got to see the whole process of them putting it back together, picking out colors and all that. It was just fun to me, and I enjoyed learning the process. Thank God we had insurance. That's very important. And so it was all done by a contractor and professional workers, and we didn't even have to do the work. And so we moved back in and lived there for a year. And it was like new construction. The whole inside was just brand new. And so we sold it in November 2018 after living there for 4.5 years. And that was our start in real estate investing. And God took our ashes and turned it into beauty.
Something that I'm also reminded of is a quote we hear our bishops say often, and that is that God blesses effort. And I think sometimes about how sometimes uneducated and unrefined our efforts are, but if you pay your tithes and you come by the house of prayer and you get your fast day in, it's like God just begins to tilt it your direction. And I'm going to tell you what's got me excited about being here tonight is we have 2 students, recent students from Calvary Academy who graduated 2 years ago who've already done this. So all of you, raise your hand if you're a senior. You seniors, you can have this done in 2 years. Now, I don't know about being married, but I know you can have the house done in 2 years. So this is awesome to see tonight. I'm going to direct this next question to Brother and Sister Hicks. One excuse we often hear for why people don't get started in this is a lack of funds or financing. And really, I think that's the biggest red flag that comes up in people's minds. So is there a way to buy a flip house without having any money down and get money to do the improvements where it's not out of pocket?
Yeah, so when we first started coming to these classes, I knew a lot about the work that goes into a house, but I didn't know a lot about the financials. So I had a real estate agent that I'd worked with probably 5 or 6 years, and I called him and I said, I'm looking to get into flips. You know, what kind of advice can you give me? I said, we don't have a lot of money to put down. I hear, you know, sometimes 10%, 20%. He said, well, why don't I come over? And I said, okay. So he said, what if I can tell you a way that you can do this for no money down? You can even have money to do the repairs. And I said, well, that sounds too good to be true. I said, you know, how does it work? And so he did have a friend, but anybody could talk to the man, but it's through First Service Bank. He's actually in Greenbrier, and literally we bought the house. They were asking, we got it for $112. The bank gave us up to 80% of the loan value. It's a little harder to find a home in this scenario, so to speak, but it is possible. So they'll give you 80% of what it's worth. So with it at the 136, they gave us right at $24,000 of money to spend. However, I could pay myself for a day's work, I could pay contractors, whatever. So I virtually had no money into this other than the mortgage note that was every month. And the payment would gradually increase up to a set point. You knew what that point was, but as you withdrew funds to put flooring in or to do the roof or AC or whatever it may be that you had to do, the price would go up until it got to that point. So even at the get-go, I want to say it was around $300 or $400 a month for this note, and it went up to about $700 at the end of it. But we made $15,000 profit on this house, and virtually had probably a couple $100 worth of payments out, because you still have to pay the interest, you still have to pay, it's an interest-only payment, you still have to pay the insurance, electricity, water, all those kind of things. So that's the only downside of not living in it while you flip it, is you do have 2 house notes, but you can do it without any money down.
There's more than one ways to get the job done. Now, the Cotlers, Brother Pomeroy was just talking about, they just graduated a few years ago, just recently got married, and flipped their first house in their first year of marriage. I don't think my wife and I can claim that. Few people can. So tell us how you did that, you know, in that first year, with a lot going on.
So, although we were only in our first year of marriage, we were also 18 and 19 years old. So, legally...
First year of marriage and 18 and 19 years old. Hey, I hope everybody got that.
With the way credit, we had really good credit, but we don't have credit history, so we had to have a co-signer. And my parents agreed. They trusted us enough that they would co-sign with this, but they just wanted to oversee all the money funds and make sure everything was going where it needed to go. And they really used this first house to teach us how it works. So they co-signed with this, and they helped us, they guided us in making the best choices because we really didn't know what we were doing. But it turned out for the best. They never paid any of our bills. They didn't do that. They just helped us mostly. And that was how we accomplished it. God did. He really opened a lot of doors. There was a lot of houses before that we thought would be really good, and they kept closing, and we were like kind of getting discouraged. And then this one came along where we went from $27 a square foot to $86 a square foot.
So this next question is directed to you, Sister Ruby. Now, I'm a school principal, so I hear a lot of excuses from time to time about certain things in general. And, of course, we're all good at making excuses, right? I remember years ago, Bishop Holmes had Sister Georgia come talk to the men about how to flip a house. Anyone remember that night? And so sometimes, you know, I think about the young ladies in our school. And really, there's no excuse. You can flip a house as well. You've got what it takes to do it. So, Sister Ruby, here's your question. You're in a unique situation in that your husband frequently travels for work. So you've done a lot of this on your own. Tell us how you've taken on such a daunting challenge in what's often considered a man's industry.
Okay, so my situation is similar to the Motzes. We actually was trying to sell our personal house. My husband went early that morning to go purchase some boxes till we can actually start packing our house up to try to sell it empty. But he has a car lot, and his mind is here and there all the time. And he had forgot he had put a pizza in the oven, and got my daughter dressed and left and went to the car lot. And we had a fire in our kitchen, and that's where it really all started at. I told once, you know, we got dealing with their insurance company, it took forever for us to get our money from them to start working on our house. And once it actually all started kind of going all together, it was challenging at times because, you know, you have to worry about the workers coming, constantly have to hound them, and then you got to worry about trying to pick out all the paint colors and what you're going to do. And that's really all started. It's hard work, but you can do it.
So in remodeling houses, and really in life in general, sometimes you just have to step back and laugh at your attempts. You know, how many times have you been just kind of, men in general, frustrated, steam kind of pouring out your ears, and you look over at your wife and she's just chuckling to herself, at you. And then it makes you mad initially, then you kind of have to laugh at yourself as well because you realize the humor of the situation. So take a second and tell us some times, and this is open for all of you, tell us a time that you have had to just step back and laugh at something or things that have happened.
Well, I'm going to tell you something pretty funny. Back, my wife mentioned we had sold a couple mobile homes 20 years ago, or maybe 18, 15 years ago. Anyway, this mobile home we had this bright idea we was going to move to Carlisle because I was going to go to dental school. A bright idea. So we went there, we bought 3 acres from Clinton Looper. It was $18,500. I called him today to make sure I got these numbers right. We had bought a repo trailer, single wide, 16 by 80 for $10,000. And how long did we live there? Anyway, we lived there a year or two. And I had acquired a couple horses. One was Appaloosa, and she was crazy. It was a crazy horse. And I had bought a crippled horse. And so I had a crazy horse and a crippled horse out there. And we had already packed up and come back to Little Rock because I guess dental school fell through. So this was back when you could actually put your stuff in the newspaper. I had an ad in the newspaper, single wide, 3 acres and 2 horses. And long story short, this guy called me. I never could get out there and meet him, but he said, I'm just telling you, I don't care what the trailer looks like. He said, I'm buying your place, and I think I had $28,000 in it, and I sold it for $49,000. You wouldn't think you could do that with a trailer, but it happened. Thank you, Jesus.
And he bought the crazy and the crippled horse too, right? He got it all, the whole package.
So the same house we've kind of discussed. My wife and I had decided we were going to take a little trip. We went to, I forget which one of the mountains, but we were going to go out to the mountain, take a little hike, and have a good time. And all of a sudden, my phone rang, and I just kind of looked over at her, and she just had this like gloomy look on her face, like her day is about to be ruined together. And the tenants that were living in the apartments on the property, they said the bottom story is flooding, and we don't know why. And this was the week of closing, and I didn't have anything with me. I'm in my car, so I didn't have any tools, anything, so I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? I'm like, they're fixing to come look at this house for their final inspection, and I've got a flood in the bottom of this thing. And so we go assess the situation, and it was like their condensate line for the AC, but you know, it's on the second story, so it runs down the wall and all this stuff. And so I had to go to Home Depot and rent a compressor and get a shop vac, and I'm trying to blow this line out, and finally got it blowed out, and I put it all back together. And so she's upstairs, and she's dumping water down it, and it's just going all in my face. So we had to cut more of the line out, put new line in there, run back to Home Depot. And of all things, this was on Memorial Day. So it was quite a memorial experience for us, but that was kind of a humorous thing that we went through. But we did clean it all up. They did their inspection, we're happy, and we sold the place.
So when we bought this house, obviously the water wasn't turned on yet, so we couldn't test it. So after we had closed and got in there and got the whole water situation figured out, we went to turn the water on and test the water heaters just to make sure that they weren't out. Well, all the water heaters was working just fine, but whenever we got ready to test it for the bathroom or the master bathroom shower, it is some crazy looking space concoction or whatever that had all kinds of jets and everything else, and it's supposed to blend on the inside of it. So we come to find out it doesn't blend at all. So whenever you take a shower, it's either all the way cold or scorch your skin off hot. So we procrastinated a little bit, and we was gonna replace the faucet, but never got around to it. So when we eventually moved into it, we was like, well, we can't just take freezing cold showers all the time. So we kind of cheated the system a little bit and turned the water heater down and maxed out the heat on the shower. So we was able to manage it. And when we sold the house, we kind of forgot about that and procrastinated a little too long. So whoever bought the house still has a shower work.
No, the problem is we bought another one and it did the same thing. But it didn't wall, it blended on the shower faucet, so both of them broke. But yeah, hope they're enjoying their hot showers.
So in our master bathroom in our personal house, I had told Ricky that I wanted a standalone bathtub in the bathroom, and I guess he really didn't know what that was. So he had our plumber to build a frame around the bathtub, and then the tile that we used around the wall, he had our tile guy to get it and like break it up in like tons of different pieces and put it around the frame around the bathtub. And I kept telling him, Ricky, I was like, this looks terrible. And he's like, no, it looks good. I'm like, no, because the grout wasn't even with the tile. And so one day when he was at work and the plumber was at our house working, and I asked the plumber, I was like, how much will you charge me to tear all this down around this bathtub? And he's like, I'll charge you $200. I said, okay, it's a deal. Go ahead and tear it all down. And in the very end, he admitted that it looked terrible and that once it was all done and ready to sell, it looked 10 times better.
Well, this class is focused many times on how the spiritual connects to the natural. And I'll never forget when Brother Lee Looper testified about going on a 52-day fast, I think from internet, social media, and those kinds of things. I remember I thought, you know what, I can try that. And I remember I tried it, and God worked a miracle in real estate on my behalf. And just a few Sundays ago, does everyone remember Pastor Holmes had Brother Corey Townley come up and tell about how God had really blessed him during the snow. And he also mentioned that Brother Corey Townley was giving up something for 52 days. So we know when we make a sacrifice to God that it works. And so this next question is, tell us a time that you made a sacrifice to God and he blessed your efforts. Anyone can open that part of the discussion up.
In July of last year, I was getting kind of discouraged because one of the guys that was supposed to be working on our house, it was going really slow, so I made a vow to God that I would fast 52 days of no sweets, and I was able to do that, and I was able to sell my house still in 3 months.
So the last house we just did was in Jacksonville, and long story short, we had set an amount that we were going to give every time we sold a flip house. We were going to give just an offering, as back to God for what He had done. And so we bought this house, and we got a warranty included. The insurance was paid up for a year, so pretty standard things, but still great to us. And I went out to the mailbox, and there was an $1,800 check in the mailbox, and I was like, what in the world is this for? So I called the title company, and I said, am I supposed to have this? I said, I bought the house. I shouldn't have anything coming back. They said, oh, that's, you overpaid your realtor commission, so that's your check. And so I'd never received anything as the buyer, but the Lord worked it out where we got $1,800 back.
So after I had graduated high school, my pastors have always talked about daily prayer and how you need to come up to the church and pray every day, either here or in your bedroom at your house. So after I graduated, I determined, you know what, I'm going to come up here every single day. So a week after I graduated, I started welding school, and all through welding school, I committed to daily prayer. Every single day I'd come up here, and I think it was 30 minutes before school. And that carried over until after I graduated, and then I got a job in Hollis, which is about 2 hours from here, and I couldn't quite come up here and do the daily prayer like I'd wanted to, so I'd pray on my way to work every morning. Well, whenever we started talking about getting married, we started praying about, Lord, please give us a place to live. So we, every day at prayer, we'd say, God, please help us find a place to live. And all that daily prayer helped us find this house that we had got. Well, we started there was a time, obviously all you married folks know that when you first get married, you don't quite have enough money to get by sometimes. So we wanted to do a 52-day fast, and that's what we did. She fasted her thing. I did what I wanted to do, and mine was social media and YouTube, which that was kind of my thing. And after that 52-day fast, the Lord opened this door for us to sell the house. And I didn't quite think about how we did this 52-day fast for us to get a financial blessing. That was the goal. And the Lord, He made that happen, and we got $80,000 and now out of the house, and now we're, other than my truck that we're trying to sell, we're 100% debt-free. So.
So we've constantly thought of things that we could do to make money, but we just never acted on it. We had big dreams, but we just didn't ever step out and do it, I guess, out of fear or whatever. We would always attend personal growth classes, and we even got perfect attendance. In March 2019, we hit a brick wall financially. So for 6 months, we hurt financially. We made sure we paid our tithes every single month, no matter what. Thankfully, all our bills were paid on time. There just was no extra for anything. As the time went on and we kept attending personal growth week after week, knowing the trial we were facing, Brother Walker came and spoke and increased our faith on the Hiram connection. And then the panel of business owners came and made it sound so easy, but we wondered, like, God, how can we do this? We realized God brought that trial to us to push us out of our comfort zone and put action to our dreams. We went to the bank the day our youngest child started school. Now all our kids were in school, and we felt like that we had our time freed up so we could make some money. We discovered the equity in our home could help us to get a flip house. We could have figured that out when the financial trial started, but God needed us to learn the lesson. God blessed us for not backing up on our tithes when the money was tight, and it paid off greatly. And by the way, that was 2 years ago this month that took place. And so for 6 months we struggled. But then, so for the past year and a half, that's whenever we're really seeing God work for us.
Right. Hey, is this increasing anybody's faith? I think I'm hearing a pattern of fasting, living right. God's going to take care of it. He's going to take care of His people so that we can keep going and do the work of the Lord. You know, if anybody knows my wife and I, they know that she's by far the better half of that relationship. And a lot of times that is the case. But in real estate, you tend to think it's a man's world and it's a man's industry and the men have to do it. But a lot of times the women carry their fair share. So wives, take a second and tell us, what do you do in this to kind of run things along and make sure things are moving?
You give him your ideas. Most of the time, I would just hand him the tools that he asked for. Maybe on the 9th try I'd get it right, but I did my best. I tried.
And she'd always choose all the colors because I couldn't do that because it all looked ugly.
So I enjoy picking out all the colors, all the fixtures, all the kitchen knobs, and I actually enjoy painting. It's therapeutic to me. I just think and paint, which actually I listen to a lot of real estate podcasts because he would be at work and I would be there by myself fixing the house and painting. So I would you get on your podcast app and look up real estate, and you can listen to encouraging, motivating podcasts. But I would definitely clean up after every project because I was a cleanup crew.
I picked out all the colors and all the light fixtures, all the cabinet knobs and pulls, and that's all I did.
So I would help with the exterior and interior design, of course. He would send me texts, does this look okay or would this look better? So I just give my ideas as well. And then just keep our home in order because the flips that we've done, we have not lived in. So to make sure, the kids are still alive. And homework's done, baths are done. His regular job, he works 12-hour shifts, so normally he's gone with prayer time and drive time, he's gone about 15 hours of the day, so I have to make sure that he has breakfast, lunch, and dinner in his lunchbox. So that's a lot of work, too, on top of, everything else. And then third, most important, of course, is prayer and being a partner with him in that and seeking for God's direction. The Bible says that a man devises his way, but the Lord directs his steps. And before we started flipping houses, we had a blowout service here. It was a Sunday night, and I was just praying. And I just told the Lord, we're just financially, physically, everywhere we turn is just a wall. We're just hitting a wall. There's no way out of our situation. And the Lord gave me a vision. And I seen myself surrounded by a wall. I mean, it was just like a circular wall around me. There was no way in and no way out. And all of a sudden, I began to see doors appear in this wall. And the Lord spoke to me and said, where you see walls, I will begin to put doors. And that's when the Lord really gave a breakthrough and we were able to start flipping houses.
As we talked about earlier, you all have full-time jobs and full-time families. What have you found is the best way to avoid downtime and get the house flipped as quickly as possible?
Well, I do have a full-time job for sure, but my wife here, when the kids go to school, she starts thinking of things for me to do when I get home. So she has about 8 hours to figure this out. And so when the fish start biting, that's when her mind really gets to going. So now she's my Jiminy Cricket. She's the conscience, and she keeps me down and not down, but she keeps me grounded. How about that? Grounded. There you go. But no, she keeps us on track for sure.
So what I found, I plan by the week. So the day before I'm going to do flooring, let's say, I'm online. I use the big box stores for a lot of stuff. Some people go to the smaller stores, but I use Lowe's, Home Depot, that sort of thing. Well, just like Walmart's online ordering, Lowe's and Home Depot has online ordering. And so for the most part, I'll order everything I need, whether it's for the day, whether it's plumbing, electrical, paint, whatever. I'll order it the day before. I'll show up at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. the next day. They'll have it on pallets. They'll put it in my truck. I'm not sitting there loading boxes of flooring and putting it on a cart, then wheeling it to the truck. They've already got it there for me. And there's been a few times I've missed a few minor things, but for the most part, I can at least get started. Days not shot, just wandering around the shoe store looking for stuff. And then the day before, I'll watch, self-help videos. I'll research whatever I'm doing, especially if I haven't done it yet. So that way my mind's already on it. The wheels are turning, so I know what I'm doing before I get there.
So we flipped this house before we got married. So she was living with her parents, I was living with mine. And I had a full-time job, she had a part-time job, and she was in college. So what we would do is, after I got off work, I'd go straight to the house, and we'd work late nights, just about every night in the weekends. And that's how we got it done in the amount of time that we had. And one way to avoid downtime is all the cheap things, hire them out. It's almost worth it to do it because you're not really losing as much money, and it's really helping you in your time crunch.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left, but we got some really good questions. So let's do kind of some popcorn answers here. First question is, what's one of the biggest mistakes you've learned from? Let's start with Brother Cotton and work our way down.
My time management. I should have thought to go get a new shower faucet earlier, but I didn't. So now we regret that to this day. Mostly we should have planned for that, but it was too late, and we closed.
I think one big mistake is big houses. We got a big house right now, and it's a beautiful house. We love it, and we got a bunch of kids. But I feel like you'd get less bang for your buck with a big house. You have to sell it for lower square foot, lower per square foot, and they're a little bit harder to sell as well once you get a big house like that. Hey, real quick, Mr. Alonzo Mills is here as a visitor. Good to see you. He's one of my patients I take care of.
I was going to add to that if I could. So whenever we first got asked to do this class, we had this house up for sale that he was talking about, so big. It's 3,600 square feet. We did buy it at $50 a square foot, and that's a really good price, but when it's a lot of square feet, it takes a lot of money to fix it up. And so, but he said, we're going to have a contract on that house whenever we talk in that class. Well, time has been going on, and we haven't gotten a contract, but they kept putting the class off. And so, he had faith. He's like, we are going to have a contract. And so, I think they rescheduled it for Brother Carroll, for Snow, for something else, and we still didn't have a contract. So we were scheduled for tonight. Well, Friday, we got a contract on our house.
I would say to make a contract with workers that you've used in the past that have a hard time coming back to work, to make a contract with them so they can't come back and say that you didn't give them enough time to finish the job.
Long story short, the very last house we flipped, the bank appraised it for $100,000 when we went to do the flip. We did all the work. We had a full price offer on it. That whenever their appraiser came, it's luck of the draw. The appraiser you get appraised it for $80,000, and so they said it would stick for 6 months. And I was like, "What are we going? What are we going to do?" And so when we started this, we were like, "We're not backing up. We're not going to go any other way." So talked to our real estate agent. We decided to go with this property management. We turned it into a rental. We're getting $1,140 a month out of a 1,100 square foot house in Jacksonville, of all places, and they've been there almost a year now. So we still made it work by God's help.
All right. Last question. We've got about 2 minutes left. Give us 30-second answers. What are some things you should do before the purchase? That's a big question we always ask. Before the purchase, let's start with Brother Hicks and work our way back.
Okay, so take lots of notes of these classes, diligently research the houses, see what there is out there, and try to find, what it is to avoid, like I said, roofs and AC. Try to stay away from those houses that need those. And And then you have to, have to move pretty fast right now. Houses aren't staying on the market very long, so pray about it, but try to act diligently and quickly because stuff right now is going fast.
Pray about it.
Well, of course, pray, research, and I like to go in there and I like to visualize what we want to do in the house, bring in some experts, like, I don't know if Jason and Angie are here, we brought them in, asked them their opinions, just do you definitely want to get a pre-approval, talk to a banker, make sure what can we do. And if you can't get to that part, if you have trouble with your credit, you just start repairing that credit as quick as you can so you can get in the game. So that's my thoughts.
What I'd say is know what you're getting yourself into, and also you want to make sure that when you make this purchase and flip this house that you're not going to be wasting your time, and you want to know that you're going to get what you want out of it, and that there's that you can make profit, because a lot of times you'll do that and you only make $500 of a house, then that's not really worth all the time and money that you put into it.
All right. Well, thank you all for your time. Hey, has this been worth it? Everybody did such a great job. Reminder, next week we've got Brother Adam's scheduled to come for weeks and talk about an incredible way of just doing this, making it simple, and how to develop land. Second thing, please make sure you sign in for the attendance. We are still taking attendance. If you have perfect attendance, we've got a big celebration dinner at the end. So make sure you sign in, and we will see you tomorrow night.
Great job, Mason. You did good.
Hey, and Pastor's Acts class is going to start at 8 o'clock. Yep, so stay close.